to say.
Good. Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order. The time is 6 p.m. Just want to welcome a few guests in the room. Former Councillor Craig Warden and our favorite reporter, Veronica Birchall, as well as we have a presentation and a delegation tonight. So they will get introduced later. All right, next item is approval of the agenda. Motion reads that the agenda for council meeting on Monday, July 15, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Young, seconded by.
My apologies.
All in favor? Very thank you. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Any declarations of interest? Seeing none?
Just in time.
Just in time.
It's gonna seem a little strange, because I've been on holidays. I went through this last night. The only piece of paper I could find to write on was the inside of this book I was reading. So, yeah, I do have 12.1, the curling club. As far as the
Community grant.
the community grants, yes, thank you. Last year, when Justin and Mary and I were on this, we asked that each one of these things be separated so that we could vote on the ones that we weren't. And I would suggest that we do the same this time, because I know Justin with soccer and Mary again with curling club, it would seem, it would look better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 12.1 also for me for Prescott District Soccer Association.
I guess me, 12.1 for curling club.
Okay, let me just double check here. Are we okay with doing this separately?
So through you, Mayor Shanker, what we'll do when it comes time for that report, because right now the recommendation is for the entire civil amendment in the staff report. Maybe we'll come up with a different recommendation for each of those. So then that gives each member of council the opportunity to make.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. So we have a presentation tonight and then we have a delegation. So first we're going to do a presentation. I have Chief Norton, and what's your title, Peter?
Firefighter.
Firefighter, Peter Belknap. So the podium's yours.
So good evening, Mayor Shankar, Council. Brent and I stopped by today just to give a recap, kind of close the loop on the 112th UFA Convention and Firefighter Games that we hosted. It ended up being 12 departments that we hosted here in town. We got about 60 campsites down on the riverfront, showcasing the downtown area. And by all accounts, it was a huge success. Lots of compliments on the town and our hosting of the games. Friday night was a smash hit. Another huge compliment from lots of the departments on that. So mainly we want to come in and thank council for your support of us in that event. We also want to make sure we thank staff. There's a lot of work put in. Dana and Justin, the ops crew did a lot of stuff to help us out. So I want to make sure we thank you guys. We appreciate the support from council and town staff. Brent's got anything to add, or if council has any questions?
Yeah, no, just I think the thing is we've held it this our third time, and we said in 2009 we did a really good job, and we were very proud of everything we did. But this year we knocked it out of the water, and all the departments sent back notes to Chris and Peter about thanking how well organized it was, how beautiful the town looked, how, with having the trolley here through Dana Justin, it was all just everything. And down at the Leo, it was beautiful. Everybody loved being lined up along the road, and we had a lot of people there. The dance was successful, and of course our parade that came down through downtown. I saw people come into the restaurants, which was was really nice. So it was a testament to putting a lot of hard work and working hard on that, and we certainly really appreciate it, because we could not have done it by ourselves. As a committee and a department, there's no way we could have pulled it off. So we're very honored and appreciative to the town for all they did in support of this.
Anyone have any questions for Chief?
There we go. Mayor Shanker, just way to go for your placing.
Yes, so our department did really well. They ended up in third, but they were 1 point out of second. So that's how close. And last year in Athens, they took a second. So they worked very hard training too. So that's another part of that nobody sees. People down at the rink practicing. So yeah, so we represented the town very well.
Chief, was there any thought to it coming back more often than every 15 years?
No, usually it goes around the circuit, Mayor Shepherd, and so they're not, and it's so much work that, I know, when you do, it's nice to have a break because, of course, our parade and everything else we're involved in, it's an added task for us, but it went really
If it was up to some of the other departments, it'd be next year.
Yeah. That's what I heard. That's what I was
Every year.
Yes, we did get that.
Oh, that's a very big compliment.
Yeah, and the thing is, there was no mess down from the trailers, everybody cleaned up perfectly, so, got a lot of compliments on that too, so, I mean, everything went so well, so even a crossing guard, I mean, that was another thing people noticed, said that was well received.
It was a great weekend, great weather, so
Yeah.
glad to hear it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie. Okay, next up, we have a delegation from the Prescott and Brockville Cricket Club. We have Nirav and Jigar. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting us here, and the agenda is sorry,
It's okay.
So first, we would like to thank you, Mayor, for giving us permissions to play cricket on the ground. We've been actively looking for a place where we can play cricket in Brockville, because I've been living in Brockville since 2018. And I'm very happy that now we have a place where we can play cricket here. And it's been going really well for last 6 weeks, I guess.
Yes.
We've been playing. And we have more than 50 to 60 active cricket players right now, and we're all happy. And we would also like to organize a tournament, because pretty much every small town around Ottawa and Smith Falls, they're getting support from the city, and they have their own cricket clubs, and we do too, but we don't have a cricket pitch here, cricket wicket. So we come here with a solution. There are different type of wickets. One with the cement, but it's not the best one. But if you could help us build that wicket with the Bermuda turf, it's gonna help us coexist with the soccer field. It's not gonna affect the soccer field if you help us make the wicket with the Bermuda turf. It's gonna be 22 meters long and about 3 to 4 meters wide, and it's not very costly as compared to the cement wicket. And I
Sorry, Nirav, a cement? You mean cement? Okay, thank you. No. I just want to make sure everyone understands.
Yeah. So yeah, if you could help us make the wicket, that's all we're asking for right now. And we would be happy to, we would do whatever we can from our side too. And we have about 15 teams right now, 4 or 5 teams from Ottawa, 3 teams from Cornwall, 2 teams from Kingston, and Antwerp and Pembroke. So many teams who are willing to come here and play, because we also went to Cornwall a couple of weeks ago to play. We went into the semifinals. That's third spot. We didn't top the tournament, but yeah, it wasn't bad for the first time team. And for those of you who don't know cricket is a growing sport in Canada. It was invented in England, but very famous in so many countries like India, England, Australia, South Africa. And Canada recently played the third cricket world tournament. And I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, so in the coming months, thank you everyone who invited us. First of all, I would start that in the coming months, in the next couple of months, we want to organize a small tournament, because we we were playing at tournaments in various places nearby Ottawa, and the last weekend we also going to play a tournament in Ottawa, and they surprised that Prescott and Brookville as a team because they're the first time and it's not even 2 months of this newly built team, and out of 3 tournaments we reached the semifinals in 2 of them. So it's a nice start for us as well as for and also we are here not as a cricketers because we want to represent the Prescott and Brookville in a cricket in Ottawa and Ontario. So we want I want to make a small request. If we could help us to build a small wicket in a consistent ground, it would be a great help to us.
And also I forgot to mention that we've been playing with the hard tennis ball so far.
Yeah.
But it's not the right way to play cricket. We need a leather ball in order to play in an actual cricket. So the pitch we have right now on the soccer field, that's not good enough to play with the leather ball. So we would really appreciate your help if you can do something about it.
So I'm just because maybe not everyone understands cricket. So when they say they need a wicket, they need that runway. You know, the guy runs and then he throws the ball and it bounces off. They need that runway to be a little harder so the ball can bounce. Is that correct? Right. But one of the concerns that, the town would have is that are we ruining this soccer field by putting this 22 meter by 3 meter runway down the middle, right? And so an idea that was presented was putting the AstroTurf, called it Bermuda turf, but like fake turf over top of this runway.
That way we can coexist together.
Right. Then the soccer can still play. I had a chat with Art Hitzman, who runs Gunners, and he said he has no problem with that. So that's a very positive. And also, these gentlemen have offered to assist in like some of the hard labor, which is probably good news for the operations. But I think, this has to be a council decision. It can't be anyone else's decision on their own. So that's why they're here.
We don't have only Brookville players, sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
But I am from the Prescott and we have 15 players from the Prescott as well.
Good.
So it's a combined team. We have 15 from the Brookville, 15, 20 from the Prescott. So
Some of them they're coming from Morrisbrook too.
And when you want a tournament, is that 15 teams coming to town?
Yeah, we're expecting 15, but it could be anywhere from 10 to 15.
Okay, can I open up the questions? Councilor McConnell?
Okay, I know nothing about cricket, which is probably pretty much everybody else in this room, except perhaps you
I know.
seem to know something. I don't know.
I talked a little bit.
Okay, there you go. So a wicket, I'm a little confused, or I was a little confused until Mayor Shankar spoke, because what we have here is a formal request to set up a cricket wicket on the playground. But apparently you've already been playing there. So what I got from this is you wanted to play cricket on our soccer field, which I have no problem with at all. But you've already been doing it. It's not adequate though. So you want some upgrade. And the upgrade that you need is 10 feet wide, 11 feet. So 10 feet wide by 100 feet long, is that pretty much it? You said 60, what was it?
22 meters.
22 meters long and
60, okay, yeah, all right. And a artificial turf, I'm presuming rolled out each time that you play would accommodate that?
It's a two-way, like which you told us, that's the one option. And another option is to fit the permanently into the ground. There's a 2 types of turf we have in Bermuda turf. One, which is we can roll in whenever we play, we just try to roll in. And if we complete it, just roll out. That's the one. The second one, we just have to fit into the ground. It's for the permanent solution and it's nothing to worry about the ground and other place.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, have you done any costing on what this chunk of turf is worth?
We tentatively, I can say it's $3,500 to $3,500.
$3,000.
so it usually costs around like $3 to $4 per square feet. So that's like $2,500 to $3,500.
Okay.
So maximum is $3,500.
Are you asking for us to pay for that?
Yes, at this moment.
Okay.
Yes, at this moment.
If I can,
Yep.
one more. I used to be in the carpet business and believe it or not, I sold artificial turf. And if you rolled artificial turf out on top of cement, it's a nice, hard, smooth surface. If you roll it out on top of grass, and you've got the problem now with the grass being, you're not gonna get a nice, smooth, hard surface. I don't see where you're any better off than you were before unless that grass is taken right out in that area, replaced with something that you can roll out very hard, very firm, some kind of sand, clay, whatever. If you do that, then the turf is staying down. It's not coming up when they play soccer. I think, does that make sense?
Yeah, nobody uses the field for soccer anymore, just to be clear.
Okay.
Can I ask Nathan? Nathan, can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, sure, through Mayor Shankar. So, yeah, I think the gentleman here did ask us to help them a little bit with the wicket earlier this year, and we did go and do a few things there. But again, it's still not quite what they're looking for to play officially. So, I think it would be optimal to have something that stays in the ground. And maybe you have to take the grass out, a little bit of soil, and then maybe with a little layer of rock down, and then the same material that stays on the pathway down at the pop-ups. It's like a small stone dust, yeah, and that gives you a nice hard surface, and maybe the artificial turf would go on top of that. Maybe there's options where companies would donate it.
Can I ask you, gentlemen, do you need the artificial turf, or was that there to help the soccer players?
We don't really need an artificial turf. Like, it was a solution just because we didn't want it to interrupt the soccer field and the players. But I mean, if you could dig the wicket for like 1 feet, right?
Yeah.
1 feet. Put some
Geotextile rocks and everything you can.
There's a bonus.
On upper level, you can put the sand and.
That's gonna make it harder.
Play. And with the
It would
weekend,
be
would it be a weekend?
Yeah, because I don't think, then it's just labor, right? It's just, and the rock. Okay, because I mean, I think the turf option came because we thought there was still soccer going on there. If there's no soccer going on there, why do we spend 3,500 on turf that you don't need, right?
He's got a question. He's got a question for me.
Oh, for you.
Ruth has laryngitis.
Steve's very happy.
Yeah. See?
Well, I said, so she can't criticize me tonight. She wanted to know what night of week that you normally play, and your tournament, would it be a weekend tournament?
It's gonna be on the weekend, but we on a usual week, we play on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday in the morning. We start usually about 7:30 in the morning. We play till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But the tournament's gonna be in the end of August, and it's probably gonna be in the weekend, in the Saturday and Sunday.
Today.
We have to do it.
Again, I know nothing about cricket, but how big is a cricket field? Like, I mean, is it the same size as our baseball field? Is it a soccer field
We'll
size?
do the job for now.
Well, I don't care if it does the job for now. I'd like to know what a real cricket,
Real cricket ground is like a little bit bigger than what we have right now. in the soccer field.
Like, it's between 120 to 144 meter, the radius.
meters.
Yeah, meters in the radius.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in tennis ball cricket, in a local level tournaments, whatever we have, that's the perfect size at this moment. For the local level, not for the internationals.
Sorry,
Yeah.
do you mind? So are you saying that other clubs are playing with tennis balls as well?
Yes.
I see.
Whatever we play 3 tournaments, all with the tennis balls. Because we are new, so we can't take a risk with play with the leather ball.
Leather balls are like heavier.
Yeah,
like a lacrosse.
Chances of injuries.
right.
And for the new players, it's not safe to play with the leather balls at all. it's a fairly new cricket club so far, so we are planning on playing with the leather ball, like probably maybe next year. Maybe we'll play one or two, tournaments somewhere outside, and we'll see how our players are doing. Cricket club.
Do you have any big home run hitters that ball's gonna go through the windows? Okay, good, sorry. Councilor Kirkby?
Yeah, a few questions for you, fellas. First one is how many residents are, or how many players are residents of Prescott?
15.
15, and so they're residents in Prescott?
Yeah.
And do you charge to play?
No, we don't charge for the play, whatever, like it's depend on the players. If I want to contribute, it's running on the contributions, I donate, some which video wants another.
So I bought a cricket gear. That's what we need to play cricket. I bought few bats, all on my money. I didn't ask for anyone for money. So I bought a cricket gear that cost me about $800. And Bowman, guy, he already had a cricket gear. He was playing with the Canara Cricket Club in Ottawa. So he had one. We're gonna need more, but we are working on it. We're collecting money. Like we got five committee members, and we don't ask money from everyone. Just five of us are managing it. So
Okay. And then it's Prescott Brockville.
Mhm.
So I'll ask you this, have you asked the city of Brockville for any funding?
we're talking to Brockville as well, but we haven't heard anything back from city of Brockville.
So if it's just Prescott that gives you funding and sets up the court, then maybe it should just be the Prescott Cricket Club.
Fair,
You laugh.
fair,
No.
definitely, we can change it, yeah, I'm agree with that. Like right now, we make a name because the players are playing with equal players are playing with both the teams. So that's why we just put the name like Prescott Brockwell, we don't know. But yes, we can.
Well, and for parking, where are you currently parking? Up there,
It's outside the field.
on the far side of Prince Street.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions, Councilor Connell?
Thank you. This is really big news to me, and I'm really glad to see a new sport other than pickleball coming to town. Nothing wrong with pickleball. I like it myself. But it's different. It's cricket. I mean, you see it on television, you see it in England, you see it in India, and on some of but it's not something I ever expected to see here. And the fact that we actually have 15 people in Prescott playing cricket astounds me. So it's something I think we should help. But it sounds to me, and this is not a member of the community, rah, rah, rah type of thing, but this is a council question. And we have, and Justin, I'm sure you grew up here like I did and played pickup baseball behind here and at the school and football and whatever. But it wasn't an organized sport. And when you played hockey, it was an organized sport. You guys look like you started off as a bunch of guys getting together and maybe playing cricket. It sounds to me like you're more organized now. When you're more organized, our organized sports require insurance because the town is liable for certain things. Do you have anything like that, or have you given any? Do you have a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary? Do you have an official organization?
So we have 5 members for like managing everything right now.
A board, in other words.
It's not an official board, but we have yeah.
We are trying to make organize everything because we don't know how it goes. Like when we thought about it, me and Bhumi, we don't know how it goes, but because of the support and encouragement from the other players and they are come to play with us, everything we see, we can go with the organizing flow. So with that, we need to include the council as well, so we can make it organize the as a club.
And in the beginning, only five of us were managing everything. Like we didn't ask anyone to bring any equipment which are used in cricket, like no tennis balls and all of that. We managed to buy everything, like just five of us. We did everything just so we wanted to invite more people to get involved in the cricket, right? So far, we haven't asked anyone for any money. Like we have more than active 50 members, as I mentioned earlier, but only five of us are managing everything, like as in like buying cricket balls, buying like water, snacks, whenever we're on the field, everything. Just five of us are managing right now, but
We want to organize.
we want to make it, like official, like official.
Yeah.
Can I ask one last question? I promise.
That's okay.
Do you have any players from Augusta Township?
One.
One?
Yeah, just one.
Okay, one's better than none. Thank you very much, and appreciate that.
Okay, so it sounds like the council is positive towards us, or not?
I think if I may, I think it's a discussion to be held.
Okay,
I agree.
I know that the only thing is they want to do that tournament end of August. We don't meet again till middle of August. So do you want to discuss it now or you want to discuss it after? We can discuss it after.
We can discuss it whenever.
Okay.
Yep.
It's kind of a rule that we don't discuss things
Not in front.
with people in the room.
Okay, all right, gentlemen, thank you. No other questions? Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Item 6 is minutes of previous council meeting. Under item 6.1, we have approval of the council minutes. Motion reads that council minutes dated June 17th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Can I move on second? Councilor Burton, Councilor Campbell. Any questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7 is communication and petitions. It's the Food Banks United Voices United 2. It's just for information. Any questions or discussion on that report? No? All right, thank you. 8 is under item 8.1 is consent reports. Is there anything that anyone would like to see pulled out of the information package?
It's reading his book.
I go this way. Anyone on this side? No?
They do.
Oh, I think we're good.
Seeing nothing there, we're gonna say all items listed under consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I move in seconder? Councilor Burton, Deputy Mayor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. No committee reports tonight. 10 is mayor report. So a few things since we were here last. We had the South Grenville High School commencement. That was always a good representation there. Councillor Lockett and I were there for that. Always the warmest day of the year too. But good on them and congrats to all the graduates. Opening of Shakespeare was just this weekend. There was quite a few of us there. I know Deputy Mayor Young was there, Councillor Lockett was there, Councillor Campbell was there. So it was a good time, probably over 100 people there, and the weather was great. And Shakespeare is always Shakespeare. It's always good. We had Canada Day. The interesting thing about Canada Day is I was talking with Dana. We figured there was between 3,000 and 4,000 people in town that day. The fort alone said they had 1,500 go through the fort. So 1,500 people go through the fort. They said they haven't seen those numbers in almost 10 years. So that was really nice. You know, back to back with that and the firefighter games, it was busy, June, July. One more thing, there was a soft opening for Lamar Lux. They have done a really nice job in there. If you get a chance, it's worth looking in. One thing I told her is she leaves her lights on at night and it's so inviting.
It's
You know, when you drive by, you're just like, hey, what's that in there? So she's very excited and she's doing a lot of different things, so good for her. This weekend, who likes French fries? We got Pinfest coming up this weekend. Steve will be there. And that's it for me. So I'm gonna go around the room. Ruth's gonna pass because of her laryngitis.
I'd be happy to speak for Ruth.
Get her 5 minutes. Councilor McConnell.
As you all know, I've been on holidays for the last 3 weeks, so I haven't attended anything. It was an enjoyable time. But I thought of you all at the various things, and I appreciate you attending them all on behalf of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Lindsay's showing us a picture here. So I had some concerns brought to me about this is down at the amphitheater at the very top. And there wasn't a railing for those first 3 steps. And as you know, there were a lot of mobility issues and older people. So I went to Matthew and told him about the concerns. And I just wanted to show off and thank town staff for their solution because I think it looks great. So pictures speak louder than words. So yeah, very appreciative of that. Great job. We had a BIA meeting. We're working on an associate membership package that pending a report to council. We'll be telling you a bit more about that. There's currently a downtown mural project. So if you go to Sean Pell's Creations at Pop-Ups, you can actually pick up a tile there, paint it yourself. And then at the end of the year, we're going to put it all together. And it's going to be about 4 different scenes, right, Dana? Yeah. So that's kind of neat. We also have the summer passport program underway. So make sure you check that out. And Riverwalk Thursday night markets are now underway. So there's some live music and some of the stores are participating by staying open late. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The library, we're having a children's ice cream social. That's going to be happening this Wednesday, July 17th from 2 until 4. And thanks to O'Reilly Independent Grocer who donated all the ice cream for our little ones. And the Canada Day Festival's like unbelievable. I couldn't believe how many people were out and about, and the dog shows, like just a great event. And our town staff just running all around and making sure everything was going good and your staff. So good job.
Thank you, Councilor Burton. Councilor Campbell.
I attended Shakespeare. It was really good fun, great acting. And they've obviously put a lot of work into it and energy. They have so much energy. It's crazy. I just want to mention Centennial Park is just booming. It's great to see. Just people keep flowing in there and there's so much to do there and the pool's open now and the beach and everything. I want to give kudos to our Public Works Department for Jonathan Noonan's bench and the flowers behind it. They look fantastic and they are not annuals, they're perennials, so they keep coming back and it just looks really nice. For those that don't know, it's a memorial to Jonathan Noonan. There are other memorials for other children in that area, and the play structure was put in there called the Playground of Angels to denote memory of these children who had passed away. Sadly, I just want to mention, I don't know if you know, but Jonathan Noonan's mother, Sandy, passed away in December. So it's even more important for me to see that bench and people sitting on it and being happy there. So that's a good one. On the other side, the JP Weiser
stone that's elevated on a post has cracked in 3 places, and people have put the pieces back in. But I think if someone jostled it, it might hit them in the toe and maybe hurt. So I don't know how that could get either fixed or redone. And then there's a little, are they, they're not raccoons. Bears by the brownie pack of 19 something or other, and they're cracking off their base as well. So that also might fall, unfortunately, on someone going by. So again, to shore up some of these things would be awesome. But basically, the park is just it's so inviting and exciting, and it's really being taken advantage of. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkby.
I'm not going to make things any easier here because I missed a consent report. So I'm just going to use this time. Am I allowed to go back or do I have to wait till the next meeting?
You have to wait.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I would get that out there. So I apologize for that. I also attended the Canada Day celebrations. It was great. Lots of people, lots of positivity about the town. The parade was a great success. Just everybody coming, people from Ottawa, Brockville, even some folks from Cardinal, that they had their own events, came down and they kind of liked it better, was the feedback that I got. So I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying it turned out really good. Lots of folks from Augusta. The big one was, I think the town went over and above. Everybody got something that came down to the booth. Kids were happy, parents were happy. Some people just sat there all day, and it just was an overall great day. And then recently I sent a letter to Ops just saying, how great things looked around town, from the new A dock to the path down there, trimmed well back. So there's lots of space beside the Heritage Trail on both sides. And then you have the natural grass down there, the natural, right? With all kinds of butterflies, moths, and birds. I was thinking about you, Mary.
Good.
But it looks nice, all grown up. And, even down, I did go down to the beach, Centennial Park, a couple times in the last couple weeks. And like Mary said, Councillor Campbell, lots of activity, lots of families out using it. I did make note of license plates. Lots of out-of-town license plates, so, it's bringing people in. Katarina's is booming. When I walked by there had to be 30 deep at one point, so, it's great to see people coming in and actually also coming in and spending some money in town also, so, thanks.
Thank you.
If I throw a couple things in, because I wasn't here and I know Ruth would want me to, because you didn't pick it up. A couple of months ago, the JP Weiser plaque I brought to the attention of, I'm not sure whether it was Nathan or Matthew, because it was broken a couple of months ago. I noticed it. They checked with Fraser, and Fraser checked with somebody in Brockville that he knows that is able to repair that type of thing. I haven't heard anything about it yet, would you check with Fraser again to see where we are with that? Because you're right, the way it's broken, it's gonna get destroyed. It needs to be either the bottom cut off and replaced or something done there. And since you're all talking about Canada Day and I wasn't here, I actually spent Canada Day, or part of it, in Somerset, Prince Edward Island. And they had a hell of a festivity down there, let me tell you, the all-day entertainment. But one of the things that they did, which I thought was just great and cost virtually nothing, and I wasn't here, so maybe we did it, I don't know. But they blocked off a section of the street, provided that street chalk for kids, which you can buy at the dollar store for virtually nothing. And there was kids out there all day just having a ball on the street. Very cheap, cost nothing, made a lot of little kids happy. If we did it, great. If we didn't, we should consider it.
All right. Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we're going to get into our staff reports. We have 8 8 of them tonight. So the first one is 12.1, staff report 51-2024, community grants intake number 2. This report will be from our manager of community services, Samantha Miller. The recommendation reads that council approve
Sorry, for you.
Yep.
That was the one that there's a conflict of interest for 3 members of council, so I've drafted 3 separate motions, so if we just hold that.
Yeah. Good. So want me to read the motions so we can discuss them?
It's up to council. You can receive the information first, and then if you want to get up for the decision, it's however council wishes to proceed.
Okay, let's do that then. Ms. Miller, it's on.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar, through you to council. The second intake for the 2024 community grant applications were received in June. The working group met on July 8th to review the 6 applications that were submitted. The first chart in the report you'll see outlines the 6 organizations as well as what it was that they included in their submission. Those 6 organizations for the second intake were Prescott District Soccer Association, Big Brothers Big Sisters, the Prescott Curling Club, Seaway Christian Church, South Granville District High School, and St. Lawrence Academy. The second table in the report gives a breakdown of what was approved in intake 1. So in intake 1, there were several organizations approved for funding. The bottom half of that chart where it specifies intake 2 outlines the recommendations that have been put together by the working group. The reasoning for these recommendations are listed below in the report as per each organization. That meeting resulted in a couple of different insights that came up throughout the conversation. Some of those are included here in the report. One is due to continued questions about the qualifications of the community grant. The working group recommends that we take a look at the wording within the community grant application to ensure that it is clear to applicants that building and capital expenses do not qualify within that program. One of the questions that came out from the working group was that if what is recommended is approved, $2,800 will remain within the community grant program for 2024. So $2,800 has not been allocated for. And so the question was, what will happen to that $2,800 afterwards? Historically, there is only 2 intakes with this program. So it is now finished. Historically, there have been requests brought to council that would qualify. They would meet the community grant recommendations. So there was conversation about how, if that $2,800 could be used within the remainder of 2024, if something came forward that met those eligibility requirements. And then out of that sparked another conversation about considering developing an annual bursary for a student attending South Granville District High School. This initiative would contribute greatly to community engagement and talent development. It also aligns with the strategic objectives set out by this council to mobilize youth and public engagement through fostering partnerships that allow youth to access higher education to home. So the initiative will be reviewed further in 2024. In terms of alternatives, council could allocate, should I go over alternatives now? If it's going to.
Sure.
The financial implications are what we've discussed already. So the budget allocation for 2024 was $58,000, of which $2,800 will remain if the above recommendations are accepted. If the funds are not allocated within 2024, that $2,800 will be carried forward to 2025 in reserve for future community grants.
Very good. Thank you. Questions for Mrs. Miller? No questions? Oh, good report. No questions. I'll read all 3.
Yeah, one at a time. So the first one I have is the Soccer Association and then Club.
Okay, so we're gonna do soccer first. Are you still on soccer or no? You're not on? Okay. So you're gonna declare conflict?
I'm declaring conflict.
All right, thank you. So the motion is that council approve the 2024 community grant allocation recommendation for Prescott and District Soccer Association in the amount of $5,000 as outlined in staff report 51-2024. May I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Lockett, second by Deputy Mayor Young. All in favor? Carried. Come back. Okay, the curling club is next.
I'd like to
And
declare conflict of interest.
You?
Same here, but I mean, I don't really think it's necessary to we wear chairs, given the nature of
Just tradition.
All right, the motion is that council approve the 2024 community grant allocation recommendation for the Prescott Curling Club in the amount of $4,550 as outlined in staff report 51-2024. Moved by Councillor Kirkby, second by Councillor Burton. All in favor? Karen, thank you. Come on back. Okay. This one everyone's good for. It's the high school. Okay. So this motion is that council approve the 2024 community grant allocation recommendation for South Grenville District High School in the amount of $400 as outlined in staff report 51-2024. Mover, Councillor Lockett, second by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I just thought of it there. When I was in high school, we always had the winter carnival type of thing, and there was hockey games going on at the arena and outdoor ball fights and stuff like that. Perhaps our recreation department could get in touch with high school before that, if ice time could be provided. And perhaps some of that $2,600 or whatever it is left over, that would be a good use for ice time for that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what this $400 was for the active.
Last year, yeah.
Are you talking this fall?
No, I was saying next year, if it rolls over and we have the 2,600 left over, I approach them beforehand, maybe we can get something more going on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes in, right? Anything can come in between now and December. So. All right, next report is item 12.2 is staff report 52-2024. The canteen operator RFP results from our CEO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. The recommendation reads that council directs staff to make improvements to the in-house operation of the canteen located at the ACCC as outlined in staff report 52-2024 for the 2024-2025 ice season. Can I have a mover and seconder for discussion? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton, Matthew?
Thank you very much. So an RFP, a request for proposal, was issued in June. Excuse me. Mandatory site visit was on June 18th, and the deadline for submissions was July 9th. We received 4 individuals that visited the mandatory site meeting, and there was only one that made a submission. The submission that was made was a concession fee payable to the town for $500 a month. They did have some relevant experience, and they aligned their hours that was in the RFP itself. They identified their menu items as well as the equipment they would bring in of their own, but they did not note what town equipment they would like to use, which was one of the requirements of the RFP. They were also to provide 3 references, and initially they didn't provide any. Upon follow-up, they were able to provide 1. So we also looked at the in-house option. Obviously, we covered this when we discussed it in June or May, I believe. We did have several barriers for operational barriers due to how it was laid out and the equipment that was purchased. Eventually we ironed most of those out, but there's still some hiccups that we have. If we were to decide not to award the RFP, then certainly eliciting feedback from individual members of council, user groups in the public, coming up with standard operating hours that aligns with the rentals, improvements to the vending machines, menu consolidation, and then perhaps some different equipment that would help to efficiencies. So from a financial perspective, the concession fee would amount to $3,250 per year for the core season from September 15th to March 31st. We broke even in the first year, but we would expect to do somewhat better in the second year. So the recommendation is to continue in-house for another year to make some improvements for efficiency as well as just overall effectiveness. And more than happy to answer any questions there might be. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions for Councilor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shanker. I think the big one here is the recommendations of council. If we decide to stay in-house, that they're received and acted on would be, you know, I feel comfortable with running it in-house. Obviously, last year, first year, right? It's new, right? It's not something that we've done in a long time. You know, there's always going to be bumps in the road, but I feel that, you know, last year is the first year and we definitely can improve this year with a little more feedback. And I'm not saying council is experts by any means, just to be clear, but I think, you know, just some more feedback and reacting to it would go a long way, I think. It's, you know, I really don't have any questions. It's just a statement. I'm in support of the town running it again.
Thank you. Councilor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shanker. I don't know enough about this canteen, but when we built the arena, did we consult with anybody about what kind of equipment we should have? It seems like we've purchased new stuff that didn't work or isn't, and we're gonna try and sell it. Like, did we consult with anybody?
Yes, both the architects and there was a canteen designer that that were used. Unfortunately, they didn't do as good a job as they should have, as well as there was poor coordination between the mechanical group and the architects and the overall kitchen equipment requirements. So there was a lot of barriers that I don't think a good job was done on the design overall, period.
Okay, and another question through you. So this professional that has put in the RFP, has he indicated that he could work well with the equipment that is there now?
They didn't specify what equipment they would be using, which was a requirement of the RFP.
And would you ever go back to that person and say you need more information?
So
He's done the RFPs in and what he provided. Sometimes when you're going for grants or RFPs, if it's not sufficient information, you can go back and ask more questions.
If council wishes to, by all means.
Okay.
That's not usually how we do it, right? You can't, or else you could go back to all 4 or all 8 that were interested.
Just one person put in a.
You know, but if you
Okay.
go back and give them, you should give everyone else. Why you don't do it? Yes.
Mayor Shanker, I think another point is that if you get a weak submission, you're gonna suffer those results if you continue with that person. So I think I think Matthew did go back and ask a couple of clarifying questions and they were still weak. So I think we'd be disappointed.
Okay. And just an overall comment, the arena is great. It's great for Prescott, but I just find that every step of the way the insulation had to be redone. And I know it's a a growing thing and we're learning, but I was surprised at this one that the deficiencies were so evident after 1 year. It's just a comment. Thank you.
Councillor Kirkby?
If I may, just a rebuttal on that, Mayor, or Councillor Campbell, sorry. I mean, I've been involved in lots of new builds. I won't say with who, but I can tell you deficiencies in new builds is common. And the list that they had here was very small considering what I see in the field on a regular basis, just to be clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. Deputy Mayor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Matthew, I was just wondering what kind of idea to, like, the feedback, I agree, is really important too. Maybe what would we be looking at, like a working group from those three parties, like the public user groups and council? Like, I'm just wondering maybe what the best way to get that or garner that feedback would be.
Yeah, so I'm planning to do a survey, certainly with council and the user groups. That way, you know, you can provide the feedback. It's easy, it's simple. We get it all in one place and we're able to work through it. And certainly I'm more than happy to report back to council on that. In terms of the users, you know, we can certainly put out a QR code when users start using it in August and saying, you know, what was your experience with the canteen last year? What would you like to see new? You know, what do you see in other places? And then being able to elicit the feedback that way. So it would be a couple-pronged approach. I'd like to do it before we start the season, then partway through the season to say, you know, this is what we incorporated in terms of that feedback, and this is how it's going, and then after the season as well. So so certainly, you know, I'd like to send out a survey to council to get feedback as well as those users, because, you know, it's direct feedback. It's you know, well understood and that sort of thing, that those are people that are going to be well invested in that success.
Thank you.
Good. Anyone else? Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I'd just like to concur with Councillor Kirby over there in his comment to Councillor Campbell. I've been involved with a number of builds as well. And if you're looking at a $500,000 house, the reason you get a warranty on it is because things go wrong. Things crop up that don't crop up until it's actually being used, whether they're defects in material, things that happen with expansion. And so when you're looking at a $500,000 house, as compared to a $19 million arena, it multiplies. So these are things that are unfortunate, maybe unexpected, but not something to be really overly concerned about. In addition, I would like to say in this discussion, it seems to me like we have a great big hole in the middle of it. We're listening to Matthew's version of, I'm sorry, Matthew, your version, that's not what I meant to say. Your report on the canteen, the search for somebody to run it, which apparently wasn't overly successful. But we had somebody running that, a town employee, for the whole season, Teresa. She was the manager of the canteen, and we have heard nothing from Teresa. It seems to me if anybody in staff or on staff knows the bad points, the good points, what needs to be corrected, what worked really well, what equipment worked, what equipment didn't work, what should have been here, what should have been there, Teresa's the one that we should be hearing from. And she still works for us, so she did when I went on holidays. I would like to see a report from her before we make any kind of a decision on what goes on with the canteen. It only makes sense to me. She's the one that was in charge, so she should know what worked and what didn't work. I wasn't there all the time. You weren't there all the time. Matthew wasn't there all the time. Things that bounce back and forth sometimes at the time they go through 2 or 3 different iterations aren't exactly the same as when they started. So I would like to put forth a recommendation that we get a report from Teresa on the operation of the canteen in her experience over the past year, and recommendations from her going forward before we do anything else. Now, I know the comment is going to come, well, we want to get this started before August and we don't have another meeting till August. That's not my fault. We have one meeting in the summer. We used to have two. Personally, I think that's wrong. We should go back to two. But I think a report from the manager of that, since the whole thing was not satisfactory, is elementary to going forward. Thank you very much.
I agree.
Anyone else? Oh, yes, it's a word, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Have you reached out to other organizations like Kingston or Smith Falls that are constantly having those people in there? What works, what doesn't work? Is there a standard food that arenas have? I know they always have hot dogs, hamburgers, french fries, poutine,
Popcorn.
that kind of stuff. Popcorn, yeah. But is there a standard thing that we could, maybe the menu is too broad? If we dumb it down, as people say, you dumb it down a little bit and just make it, a smaller menu that is, that goal may be reachable. Maybe we need more staff there. I'm not too sure. I would like to hear from Teresa as well, but I'm not too sure if that's under her job description. That's not my wheelhouse, it's Matthew's. Yeah, and like Councillor Kirkby said, it was the first year and bumps in the road happen, but maybe we just need to tighten up the menu a little bit and maybe get somebody in there or have somebody shadow. I don't know what the answer is, but who decides on the food? Who decides on the food, and do they have experience on what kind of food that comes in there? Maybe it's the wrong food, right? I think we need to reach out to other organizations, see what works, what doesn't work. And maybe our menu's too big, maybe it's, I don't know. Just, we need to figure out something.
Yeah, I agree. But isn't that part of like the eliciting feedback that we've got?
Yeah.
Part of the plan. Matthew, what do you say about Teresa coming to tell us, or like, is that protocol, or is it her boss that should be coming, or you speaking of it?
I chose to write the report. Teresa did provide feedback on the report and weighed in on the recommendations. So we normally have senior staff that would come, but certainly council's prerogative.
I just don't know what it's going to add right now. If we've already done the report and you've had feedback from Ms. Jansman, what's it going to change? Councilor McCall?
Well, I don't know that it's going to change anything, but it's going to be from the horse's mouth rather than transcribed, if you know what I mean. Councillor Leanne over there mentioned that she'd like to hear from Teresa, and she'd also like to hear from Kingston or other places as far as what worked for them, what didn't. Well, I think Teresa can tell us what worked here and what didn't, and taking that into account, if we hear what worked at other rinks and what didn't, that to me all goes towards forming a policy going forward. So 3 people have verbally said, mind you, you whispered it, that they would like to hear from Teresa. If there was a 4th, I would put a motion on the floor.
not necessarily come to council, but could you just write a report and
Report that.
email it out to us? We wouldn't have to have it.
What would you like in the report?
What worked, what didn't, why didn't it? Stuff like that. What new equipment's gonna help it work? Things like that. I don't know.
Second. Matthew, is that something that's able to be done?
If council wishes.
Councillor Campbell?
I think the recommendation we can vote on, it says that council directs staff to make improvements to the in-house operation. And we are suggesting to staff that these various steps could be taken, checking out Kingston or whatever, checking with Ms. Jansman. But I think we can vote on that recommendation. Thank you.
I think Matthew has heard what we, oh, sorry, Nathan.
Sorry, through Mayor Shanker. I think, I think we all need to keep in mind that it was new equipment, new facility, new staff, like everything was new. So, the things really didn't get rolling till after Christmas, I would say. And Sam worked closely with Teresa, I think, so she knows exactly what worked, what didn't work, and we were all there, and we all helped out where we could. So I think that, I think Sam could probably contribute if she wanted to indicate points. And I think Matthew's done a good job kind of indicating, these are all the things that we can continue to work on, and then whatever else people want to contribute as well. So I think there's a good list that might be there we can work on.
Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think we made money in the second half. Is that right? So we're trending in the right direction that way. Oh. Yes,
Through you to
please.
council. I think what's important to recognize is that when the vision for the canteen was set out, it was to offer a very healthy, nutritious option. That was the vision for the canteen initially. This is now a new council with a different group. And I think that we require some direction or some insight as to what this group would like to see. We have reached out to several other organizations, and more organizations are going towards doing it in-house for the reason that we do it, because it is such a service. I would also like to point out that there was a lot of equipment purchased, and in trying to recoup the cost and trying to use that equipment and recoup the cost of that equipment, that was one of the kind of kinks, I guess you could say, to work out throughout the year too.
Okay. All right, so
I'm just gonna, sorry, through you, Shanker, just gonna echo what's in front of us here. I think we have two options here to decide to go outside or inside. And if we decide as a council to go inside, I think we can have these discussions later on about what we'd like to see if we keep it inside. So I think we should just maybe stick to that for now.
sounds good. All right, in that case, I'm just gonna call the question. I'm gonna read the recommendation once again. Council directs staff to make improvements to the in-house operation of the canteen located at the ACCC as outlined in this report for the 2024-2025 ice season. We have a mover and seconder, so I can call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. Item 12.3 is staff report 53/2024, sewer use bylaw from our Director of Operations, Nathan Ritchie. Recommendation reads that council directs staff to bring forward the sewer use bylaw as outlined in staff report 53/2024 to the council meeting of August 12th, 2024 for further discussion and consideration. Mover and seconder, Councilor Kirkby, seconded by Deputy Mayor Young. Nathan? The floor is yours. Thank you.
So this, again, a draft sewer use bylaw. It's a tool that municipalities have to protect the environment and infrastructure by regulating, but kind of goes into the pipes underneath the ground in the town. And it's kind of to target any contaminants that we don't want in the system. It does. It reduces the amount of inflow and infiltration entering the sanitary sewer system. It eliminates contaminants from going into the sanitary systems that plug the collection system, or that can't be treated at the wastewater treatment control plant. And again, these are also compliance items through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. So if there's contaminants or things that go through those systems that the wastewater treatment can't filter or stop, it will go through into the natural environment. So I showed a little schematic that shows the storm and the sanitary drains, so that just helps people understand what goes where from the kind of a house property. And the objectives are just, again, protect all the systems that the municipality does operate, both the piping and the wastewater treatment plant. It protects the natural environment and keeps everything in compliance with the provincial government as well with the environmental compliance approvals. So the draft sewer bylaw is there, and it's got concentration limits for the contaminants that either need to meet that or be less than what's on that list. And those are guidelines from the Ministry of Environment. So council could decide to modify or decline the recommendation at this time, and the environmental implications are by putting this in place, it makes sure that we're protecting the natural environment. And then there has been lots of situations in the past where people will look to us to put certain things or get a ruling on what can or can't go down the storm or the sanitary systems, and we do advise on that. So it has been done in the past, and this is just a formal bylaw to put in place, so it's out there for people to look at. Thank you.
Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Nathan, would our bylaw apply to the other users of the wastewater management, i.e. Augusta Township and Cardinal Edwardsburg?
So through mayors, it only would include stuff coming from one place in Cardinal.
Yeah, so when I see blow down water, I think of the ethanol plant. They must use water tracing there for their heating and cooling.
Water for the plant, yeah.
Right, and then would Cruise be part of our water system also? No.
It's just one user, I think.
Okay. So I guess my question is, because Cardinal Edwardsburg correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, owns a part of that, or do they kind of rent a part of that from the town of Prescott?
Yeah, so I will let Matthew field this question as he's got a little more.
Oh, it's got his hand up. Okay.
So Edwardsburg Cardinal does have its own sewer use bylaw, and the limits within it matches the limits that were put forward in ours.
And so through you, Mayor Shankar, Matthew, would this apply then, or would we expect Augusta to follow suit once they tap in potentially to our wastewater system?
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Conlon?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I was kind of alarmed, quite frankly, when I looked at page 62 of 246 here, which shows a picture of a house, and there's a red line for the municipal sanitary sewer, and there's a blue line for the municipal storm sewer. Because in all the time that I've been here, I've continually heard we do not want people are not allowed to hook their eave troughs into our storm sewer, into our sewer system. And it looks to me like that is encouraging it and it is allowed. And I can't understand why on earth we would do it, because that's rainwater coming off somebody's roof down a downspout, which should go out and water their lawn. I mean, it's tough to water your lawn anymore because you're paying by the cubic meter or foot or whatever we pay for water to do that. This is free water. Why on earth wouldn't you put it out in your yard? And why would it be running through our storm system? That just doesn't make sense to me. Is that what is in our current system now for new builds?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, so this, it probably shouldn't have shown that. It's not something that we encourage, the rainwater to go into the storm sewer system. It was just a pictograph from online.
Okay, but not encouraging it and prohibiting it are two different things. Which one is it? If you want to check on that and get back to me, that's fine.
Matthew's probably got some details on that.
So currently, a lot of people's sump pumps currently run into the sanitary drain. Going forward, in any new development, you would have sump pumps run into the storm drain. To do that and retrofit all the houses would be substantial and a substantial cost to homeowners. So it's not something that we currently force. I think the eaves trough, we wouldn't obviously encourage that to go into storm. So certainly we can update the pictograph for that.
Excellent. If I could point out one more thing here, I believe it's 8.3, at least that's what I've got written down here, sediment interceptors for drains on private property that go into our storm system. When we did St. Lawrence Street a few years ago, because we changed the height of that street in a number of places, there are gullies where we have town-owned storm drains. They're about this big around. Those supposedly are supposed to have some kind of sediment protection. And from what I read, if they're on private property, it's supposed to be the responsibility of the property owner to look after them. This is a little bit different situation though. This was caused by us changing the road level and alleviating a possible flood situation in their property. Do these things, and Nathan, you weren't here when we did St. Lawrence Street, so you're at a bit of a disadvantage. I think it was Pierre was here then with, I forget who, but I'm sure you don't have an answer for this tonight, but can you look and see if they have them? And if they do, are they being looked after? I don't know, do you change these things? Do you flush them? It's something that maintenance wise should be looked after before something happens. They plug up blood. Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely, through your mayor. So those I can look into. We do have, annually we'll have the catch basin. So in where all the water drains to in the streets, we do have all those cleaned out because the water will drop down.
These are in people's yards though.
Yeah.
Outside of the curbing.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Nathan, will the sewer officer be somebody that currently on staff? Like they would just get that additional title?
Yeah. So it would be one of the staff in the water department.
And I was just thinking, like, in terms of the compliance by private households, I think sometimes it's not that they're trying to put something bad down the drain, but just wondering what kind of educational tools that we could give household users, and that maybe it's something they're not aware, that they should be doing. So just from the whole compliance aspect, knowing what they should put down and what they shouldn't put down, and how we can get that message out to our residents.
Thank you, Matthew.
We do have a public education piece that we've been running for a few years now. It was developed by Aqua, who run our treatment plants, and certainly we will continue doing that. And this is a good impetus for sending that out, because there's not necessarily a huge concern from a chemical perspective, but there's other things that go down the sanitary sewer that really clogs up the entire system and causes problems. So certainly we'll bring that to the fore coming out of this meeting and throughout the fall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor
For
Kirk.
you, Mayor Shaker.
I think Councillor Young's suggestion, just, and by the sounds of it, we're doing it, but making it a little more public, right, about even the grease that people put down that don't realize that goes down the drains and plugs up and stuff. I think it's a good thing to call awareness to. I know I had my eyes opened a little while ago, just when the first wastewater report came out and the grease trap caught my eye and how much extra it cost the town just to deal with that. So I think it's good public awareness, and I echo your support there.
Very good. All right, any further discussion? Can we call the question? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, item 12.4 is staff report 54-2024. The animal control bylaw suggested amendments is from our Director of Administration and Clerk, Ms. Velkamp. The recommendation reads that council directs staff to prepare an amendment to bylaw 05-2021 as outlined in this report to the council meeting of August 12th, 2024 for further discussion and consideration. And move on seconder. Councillor Burton, Councillor Lockett, Ms. Velkamp, would you like to speak to the report?
For you, Mayor Shankar. The report before council an overview of the suggested amendments to the current animal control bylaw for staff. Following meeting with bylaw officer and chief building official, the following amendments include changes to the definitions as shown in the report, such as defining aggressive animal, defining an attack, bite, puncture, uncontrolled animal, and vicious animal. Adding a section regarding animals that are a public nuisance or running at large, that would provide additional language around aggressive and vicious animals, which are outlined, and then providing an opportunity for bylaw enforcement and OPP with the ability to impound uncontrolled animals that are deemed to be aggressive and vicious. The addition of a section specifically outlining an aggressive animal would provide staff the opportunity to explain what is considered as an aggressive animal. And this section also mirrors the Township of Augusta's animal control bylaw. A section on animal licensing restrictions and regulations. Staff are suggesting including in the current bylaw a higher penalty for any violation where an animal is found not to be wearing tags issued by the town of Prescott. And then animals seized and impounded. The removal of the current section in our current animal control bylaw and replacing it with the following language that are outlined in the report also mirror the Township of Augusta's animal control bylaw. And then additionally, enforcement, just updating the current bylaw to include the use of AMPS, which was passed after the 2020 bylaw, so that it would incorporate in this bylaw as well. And then appendices in our current bylaw, again, there are minor amendments instead of just specifically mentioning an aggressive cat or dog to replace that with an animal. And also to change a fee to the schedule set fines for anyone that's harboring a vicious animal from a fee amount of $210 to $510, and again, to include the language to allow for AMPS. The alternatives, as always, council could decide to modify or decline to approve the recommendation at this time. And then also mirroring different sections of this bylaw to the Township of Augusta will create ease for our current bylaw officer as he does work between our municipality and the Township of Augusta. That's a report. If there's any questions, answer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Justin?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Thank you. I did send an email to Matthew about this. I agree with everything here. Some of the wording that I'd like a little more tightening on is leashed animals, or more specifically dogs. I think at our last council, I brought up the fact about seeing several dogs off leash throughout the town on different walks. I have noticed, maybe them people were watching, but I have noticed some of them people have their dogs on leash. But I would just like to see a little more wording in here, because I believe currently it's only called out in public parks. And I believe that anytime a dog is off leash, that's when it's considered a nuisance or an uncontrolled. So when it's off leash on public parks, I think it should be off leash anytime outside of the owner's property. So i.e., if you take your dog off your property, it should be on a leash. And I mean, I walked the Heritage Trail quite a bit. We had not an incident last night, but I mean, the dog was on a leash, but almost dragged the lady down the road to get at our dogs because she couldn't control the dog on the leash. So unfortunately, we're at that point where we really need to tighten up, I think, on this kind of stuff and get the message out that, you know, if you're going to have a dog, you need to be able to control it. Thank you.
Good feedback. Anyone else? Councillor Khan?
Actually, I got Councillor Kirby's email, I think that was before I went on holidays, wasn't it? Yeah. And I know I don't know, but I recognize the one person that you were speaking about. I just happened to run into that person the next day and I talked to him. And he indicated that his dogs were not on a leash, but they were under control. And that is all that was required under our bylaw. I couldn't argue with him on that point because I wasn't 100% sure one way or the other, so I didn't commit myself. But I did read through this, and it does say at one point, running at large, and then it says under their control. So for example, I'm going to use Mary as an example here and Toffee. Toffee and my dog Buddy have been friends for a long time, and we bump into each other at the park. They're both old dogs, and they both poke along together and sniff, and quite frequently just let them off the leash and let them sniff. Neither one of them go any faster than a turtle, but they enjoy their sniff, and we get to the end of the path, or when we see somebody coming we don't know, we snap them back on the leash again. There are people that do that, and I don't really have a problem with it. But I do understand your point, what you're talking about with your dog and the lady having a tough time controlling her dog. Buddy's my 5th dog. I've only had him 3 years, but all of the other 4 dogs were attacked by dogs that were not on a leash, unprovoked. 2 of them ran across the road to attack my dogs. 1 of them ran across the parking lot to attack my dog. And the other one came from way the hell down in a park east of the marina that I could hardly see it coming and jumped on my dog. Now, having control of your dog, well, maybe you do, but my experience is, and these weren't pit bulls. The one dog was a dachshund, if you can believe it. Another one was a West Highland Terrier. Another one was a golden retriever. So these are not vicious, normal dogs. There's just something about my dog that they didn't like, and they took exception to it. So when you have a dog, you never know. So I tend to walk my dog on a leash. He's never on a leash on my own property. When I bump into Mary down at the park, yeah, we let the 2 of them go. They're buds, they just poke along. But I do agree with Justin. If you're walking a dog, it should be on a leash. And if you make an exception for one person, unfortunately, you have to make an exception for everybody. I do see some problems with these things, and like Justin, I would like some language tightened up. It's got to do with euthanizing dogs. It looks to me like if somebody's dog is nabbed, captured, whatever, you try to find the homeowner, you can't find it. You try to find a house for it, you can't find it. week 3, the dog is euthanized. Well, I just come back from 3 weeks holidays and the dog goes with me on holidays. And if I come back 3 weeks later and find my dog dead, I'm not going to be happy about it. So the euthanizing, a tough time with that word tonight, I'm not happy with in here at all. I'm not happy with any member of this staff having the power to have a local dog euthanized. It seems to me that when we have had this, when we've had problems, at a point in time, the police have been contacted and it goes from there. And I believe that is the way it should continue to be operated. I don't believe we should be deciding whose dog lives and whose dog dies. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
I did want to point council's attention to 5C in the current bylaw that reads, any person who owns, harbors, or possesses any animal shall maintain the animal under control and on a leash at all times when not on the owner's property. So that, lock, stock, and barrel, if you're offside, if you're not on your property, then your animal has to be on a leash. So I just did want to clarify that for members of council.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So I've had issue in the past, recent past, of some dogs on an owner's property, but the fencing isn't great, or maybe they don't even have fencing. So we're saying that you're allowed to let your dog be free on your own property, but this particular case, this same dog attacked 3 different dogs by running through a hole in the fence and attacking dogs. So again, that has to be tightened up a little bit as to, I don't know, we can't say you have to have a fence.
I mean, if that dog's not on their property, it's gotta be leashed. So if it's not on their property and it's attacking, then it's gonna fall under this bylaw.
But you were, Councilor, you were saying that if it's on your own property, then it doesn't have to be leashed?
That's how it currently reads, but has to always be in your control.
It also stipulates that your animal cannot trespass on other people's property, whether it's on a leash or not.
There you go.
Which is already in the Bible.
Right.
And just to be a stickler, some people might say, well, my dog was on a leash, because some people walk their dogs and they let them just walk on a leash. I don't know how you would fix that, but I've seen that lots of times when they're just dragging a leash along. And would they have an argument? He was on a leash.
That's the point.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. For me, it's about public safety, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of, fortunately, there's a lot of good dog owners. Unfortunately, there's also a high percentage of bad dog owners. And we can talk cats, birds, and anything else, but I mean, the real damage will be done by a dog, in my opinion. As far as the euthanization, I saw that, if somebody lost their dog, right? They would try to rehome it, they'd bring it here, right? But I feel like if a dog attacks a person or another dog in town off somebody's property, I do feel that the town should have the right to issue a euthanization for the dog, or the dog has to leave, the town of Prescott. It's not welcomed here anymore, or on any of our property. I mean, unfortunately, you see all these rehomings of pit bulls, I'll just say it, and other dogs, right? And they just go on to another family. I think once a dog bites, There's really once a vicious attacks somebody or an animal, it doesn't stop there. I agree with you that, but how long do you keep a dog? Would you keep a dog 6 months in a pound to find a homeowner or somebody to adopt it?
Sean?
Yeah, through you, your worship. This was about strengthening up the bylaw specifically for some bad owners. There's no doubt that it's not really meant to affect the good owners, and that's why there's still a little bit of leeway in the thing. We have spent the last 2 years educating owners, and we are probably going to enter into what I call more enforcement thing, where it's no longer just put the dog on the leash, it's gonna be, please give me your ID so that we can properly charge you and stuff like that. As for what Councillor Connell brought up, it has to do with the fact that when the last bylaw was passed, we still had SPCA and the OPP that basically dealt with animals that needed to be impounded. Reality is the OPP nor SPCA are no longer doing that. So this here is for those really bad situations, which I'm sure everyone here on council can think of, where a dog has been involved in multiple attacks on multiple people. And don't get me wrong, the owner will still have methods to appeal it, pay for it. Like, you just had to put a time limit in. And if we knew someone was gone and we hadn't got a hold of them, I don't see we as the town rushing to, count the days to see where it's gone. I mean, like, we just have to have something in there so that we can deal with it for those really bad situations that for whatever reason seem to be occurring the last, I would say, 6 months to 9 months. And I'm not going to blame it on any particular dog breed. I'm not going to blame it on any particular person. I think sometimes people get a pet thinking that it's not as much responsibility as it is sometimes. And this simply gives us the ability to remove the dog from the situation versus just leaving it there until we reach an agreement with the owner what's going to be done to get training for it and everything else. It's all about, and there's a big difference between a dog that, I'm sure we've all had dogs that nibble at your knuckles when you pick it up. I don't think anyone gets excited about that. But when a dog aggressively runs down the street, tackles someone, and leaves puncture marks and wounds on someone, we need to have some way to make sure that we can make sure the animal's controlled if the owner can't. So that was why it was put in there.
Thank you, Sean. That's insightful. Okay. So we're gonna bring this back August 12th.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay?
Mhm.
All the question, all in favor? Opposed?
What exactly are we voting on?
The recommendation that I read before the discussion.
That we bring it back?
It's gonna come back August 12th.
Okay, that's fine.
Carrie, thank you. All right, item 12.5 is staff report 55-2024. Asset management plan update from our CEO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. Recommendation reads that council approve the updated asset management plan as outlined in staff report 55-2024. Mover and seconder for discussion, please. Deputy Mayor Young, Councilor Kirkby. Matthew, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So back in the late 2010s, the province put out a requirement for asset management plans for municipalities. The first deadline was in 2019 to develop an asset management policy. The second deadline was in 2022, and that was for core assets. Core assets are streets, water, sewer, wastewater, those types of things. And then in 2024, now it's including all of our assets. So for us, that's the inclusion of buildings, equipment, machinery, vehicles, and land improvements. So we went through a similar process that we went through in 2022, identifying all of our assets, determining a relative condition that they're in. When we're talking about buildings, we rely on the condition assessments that are done by engineering and architects. For equipment, we rely on those that are repairing it in terms of its current condition. Land improvements are a little bit more difficult. Certainly, we understand parking lots, that sort of thing. It's a little bit more difficult to assess the condition of a breakwater, simply because they're years or decades in life. But certainly, we took a stab at it. We're also required to assign a current value to those assets. And we did that through looking at for buildings, replacement values or new construction values developed by the large Ontario municipalities, as well as the Altus Group produces a report for square foot costs that are developed. So equipment is a little bit easier. We are able to ascertain the cost of new equipment fairly readily, and so that was used. And then again, land improvements are a little bit more difficult, especially when you're talking about breakwaters. But we did attempt to use a methodology on that as well. Councillor McConnell did point out that there is an error in the core asset, that not all of the properties in the town of Prescott are attached to water and wastewater. So we will make that clarification. And he did have some questions about the average age of the breakwaters. I'll concede we don't have a lot of good records on the breakwaters. What we did do is kind of assign an age to the marina that was obviously developed in the mid to late 80s. The Riverwalk Park, substantial work was done on the tiebacks to the breakwaters. When we do upgrades to assets, we do change their base value, and so that had the effect of updating it to newer than the original, because good portions of it were addressed and updated. We will be. We've already approved the work for the wastewater treatment, or the water treatment plant. Sorry. To really kind of replace that entire break wall and upgrade it for this year. And then finally, the last one that we have is the deep water dock, which we don't have a good amount of information on, but certainly those were the ones that we looked at, considered, evaluated, and went from there. So along with the requirements for 2024 is that we have to review the asset management policy every 5 years. So that comes up this year as well. I did go through the policy. Not many changes were made. Really just a few minor tweaks here and there. And more than happy to answer any questions there might be.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Armstrong? Mr. McConnell?
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. But not a question really, but it's just a couple of things that I picked up as I was going through this. I noticed it says we have one class of sidewalk.
Yes.
We actually have more than one class of sidewalk. The sidewalks that you're referring to, I guess, are the concrete sidewalks that are on most of our streets, but we do have interlock sidewalks as well. The sidewalk on the west side of Edward from Churchill North is all interlock. And we have a chunk of King Street by Boomers that is interlock, and we just took out a section on Edward Street that was interlock. So we do have more than one class of sidewalk that should be reflected in there. And I don't know whether the interlock sidewalks actually cost more than a concrete sidewalk, but it's something that perhaps we should be aware of. The other thing, when we're talking about break walls, we tend to think of the cement or steel break walls that we have, and you reference them on the waterfront, and they are kind of tough to pin down age-wise, I realize. But we also have breakwaters that I believe we should reference in this document. And the best example, I think, would be the one in front of the United Counties building. And that is large capstone that's been placed on top of the old cribbing that is down underneath there. The unfortunate thing is, in time, with the weight of the capstone, the cribbing keeps collapsing and the capstone keeps sinking. And over time, that capstone in that area that I'm suggesting in places is now 2 feet below the sidewalk, where it used to be all above the level of the sidewalk. And it doesn't really cause a problem this time of year. But in the times of year in the spring, and especially when we had the high water, it was undermining and has undermined that sidewalk to the point where we really should be doing some augmenting with cement or something to keep it from collapsing. The corner of that sidewalk too is cracked, and the solution to that is another layer of that heavy capstone on top of what's already there to bring that up to the height of what it was before. The other area where that is important is at the foot of Center Street, from where the parking area is over towards the break wall at Riverwalk Park. That has some large capstone in there as well. Unfortunately, it doesn't have enough. And we have over time put shot rock in there to try and fill in. We put gravel in there to try and fill in. And whenever we get high water, we've had that gravel and shot rock washed right back into the parking lot. So then our people have to spend the time to clean that up, clean the flower beds up. So those are two areas that we have that are not normally thought of, or at least not thought of in this document as break water or break wall, but they are break water, and I think they should be referenced, and I think we should have a plan on augmenting those going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Matthew. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next item is 12.6, Staff Report 56-2024, Handling Unreasonable Customer Behavior Policy from our CEO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. The recommendation reads that Council approve the Handling Unreasonable Behavior Policy as outlined in Staff Report 56-2024. Can I have a mover and seconder for discussion? Oh, Councillor Burton, Councillor Kirkby. Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So best practice suggests that when we look at implementing restrictions on service, that it be done in a way that is consistent, provides accurate documentation, and does it in a way that still provides residents or customers with service, but using the least amount of limitations possible. So this is for situations where staff may no longer feel safe dealing with a customer due to behavior, that sort of thing. And so we looked to Wasaga Beach. We were pointed towards them and identified that they had a pretty thorough process and policy. So we looked at it. Very few changes were made from that. I apologize if I left Wasaga Beach in there once or twice too many times. And certainly we will correct that if it's approved. So generally what would happen is if a member of staff came forward and said, you know, I'm having troubles with a customer, it's kind of gone past the level of being professional, and it's no longer being a productive type of interaction. And I think we need to look at perhaps other ways in which to service this particular customer. Then they would bring that forward to the department head. The department head would document, find exactly what's going on, understand the situation. In most situations, they are going to be already intimately involved in that process. If they feel that it warrants some type of limitation, then having a discussion with the CAO to review that. I provided some examples in there of what we would consider behaviors that are unproductive to provide customer service, as well as some of the remedies that there might be, such as limiting that person to dealing with one person or one member of staff, perhaps making appointments, those types of things. So certainly more than happy to answer any questions there might be, get feedback. but certainly it felt like we needed something to have in place to make sure that if we were limiting or changing how somebody accesses customer service, that we do it in a way that follows a process and a procedure and is consistent in how we look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions? How's it going?
To you, Mayor Shanker. Matthew, would this extend to all town facilities? I.e., would this extend to Walker House, the library, the ACC?
Certainly. So absolutely, it would extend to any of those facilities. If it's under the town's auspice, then it being a policy of the town, then it would apply to those facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. I'm gonna take a 2-minute comfort break. No? If you're gonna ask a question, I'm gonna take a break. 1 second, sorry, Matthew.
I know a good show.
Me?
Probably not allowed to
Hmm?
probably say one, wouldn't be inappropriate anymore.
Take over, Deputy Mayor.
By standards.
It's a weekend? Yeah, well. Oh.
Deputy Mayor, you could take over.
That's what I said, take over, Deputy Mayor. She's not listening.
She's reading.
Matthew, is there signs like, you know, in different organizations, like the doctor's office and dentist's office, and says, certain behaviors will not be tolerated and are we planning on doing anything like that?
Certainly, I think as part of this, it is reasonable to provide signage so that it can be referred to. So yeah, I appreciate the feedback, and we can make sure that those are in place.
You see all those signs in different dentist office. I was just there, so I.
Drive-throughs.
Tim Horton.
Drive-through.
I was gonna say Tim Horton's.
Drive-throughs, yes. Post office.
Yeah.
Yeah, the post office, yeah, absolutely. I think this policy is excellent and, it's unfortunate that, our staff have to deal with, uncomfortable, disrespectful situations. But,
Panic button in any offices. Like,
Do we?
yeah, does town hall have a panic button?
Okay.
We do.
You do?
Yeah,
Really?
we used to have it, we used to have it at the store too.
Yep,
Can't say where.
we don't make it public
Advertise.
knowledge, but we do have a panic button.
So you're saying Lindsay? down?
Public knowledge now.
But well, it's very good to have.
Yeah, no, it goes directly to our monitoring company, and the monitoring company notifies.
Interesting. What should?
We used to have them before our
Did you?
renovation at the store, yeah.
Yeah.
Matthew, is this more of a, or have there been incidents?
There's been times in the past where we've had to limit access to customer service, and so this is a great way to provide a framework in which to consider those.
Did you have a question? Whoever had a question could ask Matthew, couldn't they?
Well, it's an opinion rather than a question, so I'll wait till our
Okay.
grand poobah gets back.
All right, any question?
We've been telling you stories about you while you were gone. Not kidding. I'm kidding. No, I completely agree with the fact that staff should not have to put up with inappropriate, shall we say, behavior. I mean, I've been an employee, a manager, and an owner of a business, and when you're dealing with the public, on occasion, 99% of people are fine, but every once in a while you get somebody and you have to deal with it. But on the other hand, we are an elected body. We are elected by the public, and we are elected probably by the people who are coming in at that 0.1% who are going to cause a problem. And because we're not a private business, because we are an elected body, and because we have been elected by them, I believe that they should have the ability to appeal to council with their complaint. They can register as a delegation, make the complaint, and we can discuss it. And in all probability, we are going to agree with whatever staff said, but the ability for that person to have a final say to the people he elected has been served. So without that, I would not be able to support a thing like this. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Schenker. Councillor McConnell, are you saying that if somebody decided to appeal this, that they should appear before council, but if they don't decide to appeal, then they wouldn't appear before council?
Yeah.
Wanted to clarify. Okay.
No, I mean, it's just, I would think that in the situations where I've dealt with this kind of a thing in private business, half the time the people that come in the next day or the day after and say, well, look, you know, I was out of sorts. I'm sorry, it was this, that, and the other thing. The other half is the people that probably should be banned. But if they have a point and if they feel that they have not been well served, well, they probably have been well served in all honesty, but if they feel that they haven't, they have elected us. I believe that we owe them the right to make their appeal here and listen to it. And if we feel that we want to discuss it after they go, it's not something we discuss here. We did that with the people, thank you. But no, I think people should have the right to appeal to their council as a last final measure. They should not be denied that.
What are they appealing?
I have no idea.
If they were.
Does this have to do with this bylaw here?
Yes. Yeah.
So they're appealing that they've been considered unruly, unreasonable customer? Is that what you're asking? If staff deems that they're being
I'm not, well,
you
again,
want them to appeal to us?
based on my experience, if somebody gets out of hand, usually, again, my experience in private business, because I'm not in the town hall. Eh?
How long ago was that?
Doesn't matter how long ago, it was 30 friggin' years.
Okay, well, I'd like to know.
That's a
because-
bit of experience. What I'm saying is usually there's something that has caused it and they feel that they have not been properly heard with that something, or they have been misunderstood, or they don't feel that the decision that was made was the proper one. And they would like a final kick at the can, and we're that final kick at the can. In my,
I don't know if I want to have a whole delegation of people that are complaining.
you can find it's one in a blue.
I'm not, I don't think. Matthew?
So we're talking about any restrictions that would be put in place. We're not talking about not serving the customer. It's just that sometimes we would put limitations around that. So specifying a certain individual that they can deal with, or making appointments before they arrive, those types of things. So, we continue providing service, and there is an appeal process in there to make sure that, first of all, an employee has brought it up. Department head has taken a look at it. CAO has taken a look at it. If they want to appeal, the clerk takes a look at it, goes back to the CAO. So there is a number of processes in there to make sure that we have provided every opportunity for them to explain the issues, that sort of thing. But there comes a time when we're just rehashing the same information over and over and over. And that's not a productive relationship anymore, and so that's when perhaps we put limitations in place. But certainly when an individual brings new information to the table, or to light, or to want to explain something, then certainly we're obligated to consider that. Also, there is a provision in there that there would be a regular review of any limitations, so that they can be lifted within a period of time that we can then return to a productive everyday customer relationship.
Thank you, Mr. Alford. Anything further? Thank you, Campbell.
Mayor Shanker. So Matthew, is this just for hired town staff, or would it be protecting councillors as well?
No, stop.
How it's currently written is staff, but certainly we can explore other options for councillors.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right. Recommendation was that council approve the handling unreasonable behavior policy as outlined in staff report 56/2024. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, item 12.7 is staff report 57/2024 King Street event street closure from our economic development officer, Dana Valentine. The recommendation reads that council approve the closure of 2 blocks of King Street from Edward to George to accommodate a King Street event to be held Saturday, August 3rd from 10 to 5 during the civic holiday weekend. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Kirktree, Councilor Campbell. Thank you. Ms. Valentine, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. For you, council. We have a report before you tonight requesting closure of 2 blocks of King Street for August 3rd, taking place the civic weekend. So the purpose of this would be to build on the previous civic weekend events that we've been planning at the Edward Street Promenade, which involved buskers, some family-friendly activities, entertainment. And we'd really like to build it out into the King Street area this year to include downtown businesses, and also uptown businesses would be invited as well to participate in sidewalk sales. It would provide us with some more space to have some family-friendly areas, as well as more entertainment happening in the downtown. And we would also invite different organizations and groups down, everything from sporting associations to clubs, as a way to showcase different things that we have going on in the community and the region, and give people an opportunity to learn about new things to see and do. So this is really coming also from our work with the BIA. We partnered on a number of events in the past, and the subcommittee had a meeting a few weeks ago and started to discuss ideas for this weekend. And something that they've really been focused on is placemaking and bringing more activities to the downtown business community. And we thought this would be a really great way to address both of these things. And it also addresses the priorities of the economic development and tourism strategy, as well as the council strategic plan. And it would be we would take a different approach to it so as not to create too much congestion in the downtown due to traffic issues. We would actually just close the blocks themselves and leave the cross streets open. So the north, south, Center and George streets would remain open and a portion of Edward Street would remain open. Rockville actually took this approach for an event that they did recently, their downtown sidewalk sale. And I thought it worked really well, and it kind of, again, reduced that congestion, allowed people to be able to still drive into the downtown. And also, if God forbid, something happens with the 401 closure and we need to use King for an emergency detour route, we will ensure that none of the activations are permanent in nature and can easily be removed. And keeping those two arterial streets open would really help to support that if it does need to happen. And as far as financial implications are concerned, it would be the BIA has approved a contribution of $1,500 towards the event. And this would be a regular budget item, estimated costs ranging between $4,000 to $6,000. It was already allocated in the 2024 budget.
Very good. Thank you.
And I have included a map just for council's review, so you can get a better sense of exactly where we would be proposing the street be closed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. All right, any questions for Dana? Councilor Burton?
Just comment, actually. I was in Brockville when they started closing the streets. They had musicians on every block. And the store owners were already pulling out their tables, and what a fabulous idea and a fabulous event. And I think people will come from all over to participate and come to Prescott.
Any other question? Dana, when's the last time we had a street closure event downtown?
To mine, not since I've been here. I've never participated in actual street closure aside from just that portion of Edward Street for the promenade. I'm not sure it's been done in recent past. We had food trucks one year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had food trucks, and it was from TD to the clock tower. And we closed off that whole section. We had different food vendors and yeah, there's food trucks, different craft vendors there. And some of the restaurants participated too. They put up patios and stuff. It was good.
Councilor Kirkby?
I'd hate to miss an opportunity to ask a question. Just a couple. Dana, would all vehicles be removed from these sections that are closed off?
Yeah. Ideally, yes, that would be the goal. So we would have to go in the night before, and we would also send notices out to people who do tend to park on the street overnight, asking them to relocate their vehicles for the night, because the goal is, yes, to clear both of those blocks completely.
And just for clarification, if there was something on the 401, do we have to send them through King Street? Could we not? And I don't know how it works, but could they not take the other route through Boundary through Churchill and down Ann Street? Did I get that right?
Great question. I would certainly support that if the opportunity existed. Matthew, could we maybe defer to you?
Certainly. So the EDR, we are committed to having to open it. It would only be for potentially westbound traffic, unless it was closed at Johnstown. So if you're getting off at Prescott and you're continuing to head west, then you would go up to, I think that's McIntosh and over. If you're heading east, then you would come down King Street and head east. But the only issue would be is if they close it at Johnstown or somewhere further to the east, that it would then be proceeding west through King Street if they couldn't get back on the 401. So the likelihood of it is pretty small, but yeah, we would be required to open it up.
Okay. What else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Valentine. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, there is one resolution under item 13. That's good. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. I was like, I didn't see it. Okay, 14 is bylaws. There are 3 bylaws for approval this evening. First one is 14.1, that bylaw 29-2024, being a bylaw to enter into a municipal funding agreement with the Canada Community Building Funds and the Corporation of the Town of Prescott, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor McConnell and Councillor Lockett. All in favor? Opposed?
I was just wondering if maybe for the public, Matthew can explain
Sure.
really what this means.
Matthew?
Certainly, thank you very much. So the community benefit fund is what we used to refer to as the federal gas tax. They changed the name of it, moved away from calling it gas tax. It's the yearly amount that we receive from the federal government to support water and wastewater projects. So we save it up for every 2 years and then put that towards our major street work. So we've used it in the past on St. Lawrence Street, on redoing Dibble Street East, on doing Linda, and our next project being East Street. So it's really just the same funding under a new name, and there's a new 10-year agreement that's before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right. 14.2. I have a recommendation that reads that bylaw 30-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 04-2014, being a bylaw for licensing, regulating, and governing vehicles used for hire, including owners of taxi cabs, limos, and accessible taxi cab service in the town of Prescott, be read and signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lockett, Councillor Burton. Any discussion needed on this one? We did this last month. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one is bylaw 31-2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-2023, being a bylaw to appoint members of council to boards and commissions, to appoint members of council to the committees of council, and the appointments of deputy mayor for the remainder of 2023 and for the year 2024. That's okay. Be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton. Any discussion on this one? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, no new business tonight. No notices of motion and no mayor's proclamation. Veronica left. Is there anyone online, Matthew? No.
No.
So no question from the media. Okay. Item 19 is closed session. The recommended motion reads that council move into closed session at 8:15 PM to discuss matters pertaining to 19.1 approval of closed session minutes, 19.2 purchase and sale matter. Under section 239 2C of the Municipal Act, the proposed or pending acquisition and disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And that the CEO/treasurer, director of administration/clerk, and the ED officer remain in the room for items 19.1 and 19.2. Mover and seconder, Councillor Lockett, Deputy Mayor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you.
Do we get a break?
Yeah.